Imagine waking up one morning to an eerie, orange sky, or even one that's filled with ash so thick that you can't see through it. If this were to happen, there's a good chance that the world as you know it would have ended. And while it may seem like something out of a movie, it has actually happened in the past. In 1815, Mount Tambora erupted in Indonesia, sending more than 51 cubic miles of ash and pumice into the atmosphere. The eruption was so massive that it led to the year without summer in 1816, with many parts of the northern hemisphere experiencing record low temperatures and massive crop failures. In fact, the eruption of Mount Tambora is considered the deadliest in recorded human history, killing over 88,000 people. So how could something like this happen again? Let's find out. We all know what volcanoes are, right? Those massive mountains that sometimes erupt and spew lava everywhere. But did you know that they can also have a massive impact on the climate? Oh, they can, and it all has to do with the ash. When a volcano erupts, it sends a massive amount of ash and other particles into the atmosphere. These particles can stay in the atmosphere for months or even years, blocking sunlight and cooling the planet. It sounds crazy, but it's actually happened several times in the past. Take, for example, the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines in 1991. This eruption sent 2.4 billion cubic feet of ash into the atmosphere, which caused global temperatures to fall by about 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Not only that, but the amount of sulfur dioxide released by the volcano caused a lot of sulfuric acid to form in the stratosphere, which led to a 7% decrease in global temperatures the following year. And while that may not sound like much, it's actually pretty significant. For instance, the average temperature change between the hottest and coldest months of the year in London is only about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So a 7% decrease in global temperatures can have some serious effects. Volcanoes can also cause global warming. When a volcano erupts, it releases gases such as water vapor, carbon dioxide, and methane into the atmosphere. Water vapor is a powerful greenhouse gas, meaning it can trap heat in the atmosphere and warm the planet. In fact, scientists believe that the recent increase in volcanic activity in Iceland could be contributing to the current trend of global warming. So how do volcanoes affect the climate? There are two main factors at play here. First is the amount of ash and other particles that are released into the atmosphere. The more ash and particles released, the greater the impact on the climate. Second is the height to which the ash and particles reach in the atmosphere. The higher they go, the more of an impact they'll have on the climate. Particles released from a volcanic eruption can have a variety of effects on the climate. They can reflect sunlight back into space, which can cause global temperatures to cool. They can absorb sunlight and heat up the atmosphere, which can cause global temperatures to rise. They can also interact with water vapor in the atmosphere to form clouds, which can either reflect sunlight or trap heat, depending on their altitude. All of these effects depend on the size and intensity of the eruption, as well as the height to which the particles reach in the atmosphere. For example, during the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo, 2.4 billion cubic feet of ash and gases were released into the atmosphere. This led to a 7% drop in global temperatures the following year, as well as other climate anomalies such as more cloud cover over the eastern Pacific Ocean and less cloud cover over the western Pacific. So what happens when large amounts of volcanic ash enter the atmosphere? Well, first off, you can expect to see a lot of ash falling from the sky, which can make it difficult to breathe and can damage crops. In addition, the ash can cause the soil to become infertile, making it difficult to grow food. And if that wasn't bad enough, the ash can also contaminate water sources, making them unsafe to drink. Just ask the people who lived near Mount Vesuvius in Italy in 79 AD, when the volcano erupted and buried the city of Pompeii under 5 feet of ash. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius was one of the most destructive in recorded history. It unleashed over 4 billion cubic feet of ash and pumice, completely burying the city of Pompeii and killing thousands of people. Another major effect of large amounts of volcanic ash in the atmosphere is the disruption of air travel. When ash builds up on airplane engines, it can cause them to fail, which can lead to catastrophic damage. In fact, during the 2010 eruption of Mount Eyjafjallajökull in Iceland, 10 million passengers were affected by the cancellation of flights due to the ash cloud. On top of that, large amounts of volcanic ash can also have a devastating impact on the economy. When ash falls over large areas of farmland, it can destroy crops and lead to food shortages. This can cause prices to skyrocket, which can lead to economic instability. In addition, the cost of cleaning up the ash can be enormous. For example, the cleanup costs associated with the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens in Washington state were estimated to be over $1 billion. And let's not forget about the health effects of volcanic ash. When ash is inhaled, it can cause respiratory problems such as asthma and bronchitis. It can also cause skin irritation and eye problems. In addition, the fine particles in ash can be carried long distances by wind currents, which means that people living far away from the eruption site can still be affected. During the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo, for example, ash was carried all the way to Australia, more than 10,000 miles away. Volcanic ash can remain in the atmosphere for weeks, months, or even years. This is because the particles are so small that they can stay suspended in the air for a long time. The exact amount of time that ash will remain in the atmosphere depends on a number of factors, including the size of the eruption, the height to which the ash reaches in the atmosphere, and the strength of the winds. For example, during the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora, ash was recorded in the atmosphere for more than 3 years. This led to the year without summer in 1816, with many parts of the northern hemisphere experiencing record low temperatures. To measure the amount of ash and other particles in the atmosphere, scientists use a variety of instruments. One common instrument is the nephelometer, which measures the amount of light scattered by particles in the air. Another instrument is the LiDAR, which uses lasers to measure the size and concentration of particles in the atmosphere. Satellites are also used to monitor the amount of ash and other particles in the atmosphere. Scientists closely monitor volcanoes that have the potential to cause significant damage. This is done through a combination of satellite monitoring, ground-based instruments, and computer modeling. When a volcano shows signs of unrest, scientists may issue a warning to local officials, who will then decide whether or not to evacuate the area. So what can we do to protect ourselves from the effects of large amounts of volcanic ash? Well, first, we need to be aware of the risks and take steps to prepare in advance. This includes having a plan in place for evacuating the area around a volcano if necessary, as well as stocking up on supplies such as food and water. We also need to invest in better monitoring systems to give us as much warning as possible of an impending eruption. And finally, we need to continue to study the effects of volcanic ash on the climate, so that we can better understand and mitigate the risks. But don't worry too much. The chances of a massive volcanic eruption happening are very low. In fact, the last time something similar to Mount Tambora happened was more than 100 years ago. And even then, it only happened once every few hundred years. So we're pretty safe, right? Right. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates.